Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program from our studios in Jerusalem. My name is Blackham. I'm with my wife, Nathalie Blackham, and we welcome you across the world to our program to look at what's happening behind the news in Israel. And this will be our seventh Gaza war update. And we're looking at behind the scenes. We won't be looking at the actual events per se. Those will be covered by the mainstream media. We're looking at some of the things that you need to know that are happening behind the scenes, preparing us for the redemption. And one of the big news stories, Nathalie, and we've been talking about this, is the effect the war has had on the mental state, of the Israeli people. And in the Jerusalem Post, it's recently been reported that there's been a rapid increase in the use of sleeping pills since the October the 7th Hamas terror attacks. Pharmacies across the country are dealing with a flood, Nathalie, of requests for medical and alternative sleep medications.
Yes, I was speaking, with a friend who lives in a community not far, and she was saying, her doctor was saying, everybody is on pills.
Yeah, on sleeping pills.
Sleeping pills, yes.
Experts are warning that drugs damage the structure of sleep. So it's not as simple as we think, because whilst they may induce sleep, they can interfere with the whole structure of how the body works regarding sleep and cause addiction. There has been a significant increase in the consumption of sleeping medication under doctors' prescriptions since the October 7th attacks, Nathalie. And experts warn that the increase can cause addiction and damage, as I said, the sleep mechanism. Persons, by the way, I didn't know if you know this, friends watching today across the world, but we spend a third of our lives sleeping, which is important not only for preventing fatigue, but functioning alertly during the day, but also for a huge variety of medical processes that happen at night. There has been close to 100,000 distress calls registered in Israel for loneliness, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts and related sleep disorders. One of the things we've mentioned on the program is the images that are coming out, which we have cautioned our friends and viewers and supporters not to look at, because people are getting sleep disorders, according to Israeli health professionals. According to the United Health Insurance Fund, Nathalie, the first month of fighting showed 170% increase in the number of patients for the first time starting treatment on sleeping pills and sedation compared to the corresponding period of last year. And the reason I mention all of this story is because you really need to know what's happening here in Israel, because Israel is first. If this is happening in Israel, then this will be happening across the world. From November the 7th, there was a slight decrease in anti-anxiety drugs compared to the first month. And then the Jerusalem Post talks about the main medications that have been prescribed. It's understandable and expected, said Tal Lavana. She's a clinical psychologist and director of the mental health system of Mehudat in the Jerusalem district. Sleep impairment is a typical characteristic of dealing with anxiety, trauma and depression. So it's whilst they're prescribing sleeping pills, there's actually an underlying cause: anxiety, trauma and depression. Many patients suffer from various types of sleep disorders among different age ranges. In children, there are frequent difficulties with falling asleep, in addition to separation anxiety. That's something we can testify to personally from our friends. Separation anxiety, in other words, children not wanting to be separated from their parents at this time. Another big issue which has been raised in the media, and some people are talking about it, some people are not, is what will happen to Gaza, what is going to happen to Israel with what's happening, and what's going to happen to all the people. Now, we've talked about on previous programs about the migration issues, both inside of Israel and inside of Gaza. There's been evacuation of southern Israeli residents from the southern communities, and there's been evacuation of the northern residents, and maybe I'll talk a bit about that in the program as well in a bit. But the Times of Israel has reported that Israel is in talks with Congo and other countries on Gaza voluntary migration plan. A senior official says that Jerusalem is working on post-war resettlement of Palestinians from the Strip. Now, we know one of the aims of the globalists, of the one world government, of the people who are really behind the scenes that we don't know but are pulling the strings, is the movements of population, migrants, for example, movement of population, and the destabilization of the population, that it's not only being moved, but they don't have any voting rights, they don't have any country anymore, etc. So these are all goals of the one world government. So there's a bigger, we see on the world stage, there is a bigger agenda going on behind the scenes with the movements of population across the world. It isn't just happening in Israel, it's happening in other countries as well. So, and most likely it's happening wherever you're watching today, if you're living in a first world country. So this is something that they're doing on purpose, Nathalie, to destabilize the population. And the Times of Israel reported that it's a key policy of the Israeli government. And by the way, today it's suddenly not, but that's another story. They literally will change the stories from day to day. You read a story one day in the news, and then the next day everybody says that story is incorrect. I think it's just part of this flow of information or misinformation that we're getting out of the mainstream media. And so that's why it's so important to look behind the scenes to see what's really happening from from your own perspective, from the person on the street, and from what you can see happening, an eyewitness to events that are happening in the world. At the same time, we've mentioned the economy in Israel has been affected by the war. And at the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, Nathalie, an army reservist decries the lack of government aid as businesses fail while they fight in Gaza. People, to give you the background, people left their jobs. Many of them, and I witnessed this personally, many of them on October the 7th, literally left their homes, the reservists, to be called up. In the situation in Israel is there is a main army, there is a full-time army, which is all the time. But in the case of a war, they call up the reservists. Those are people who've served in the military previously and are going from time to time to reserve camps to keep up to date with being a reservist. And these were the people who have businesses in Israel, who run shops, who are working in offices, working in high tech. These are the people who they called up, and suddenly they're all missing. And as far as I can see, they're still missing. This is an eyewitness report. Some of the people who have been called up, for example, on our road where the studio is, I haven't seen them again for a while. So who knows? The population has been affected by this huge movement of population, the reservists, to the army. Now, it has a knock-on effect because the reservists, as I say, are working in industry, and many of them are self-employed and have their own works. And this is what one of them says. He said, "My situation is a catastrophe. The refrigerator is empty." Lior Mosheyev, told the Israelis Parliamentary Finance Committee. We left everything to go and fight. The ongoing war with Hamas, and it's still ongoing as we've come into the studio today, as far as we know, has been financially devastating for many reservist soldiers who left their businesses to languish whilst they responded to mobilization orders lawmakers heard in the Knesset. Reservists told the Knesset Finance Minister for Businesses that businesses have collapsed due to the lack of government assistance while they were out in the field. While reservists are paid a salary for their time serving from the army, this has often proved woefully insufficient for business owners whose untended enterprises have fallen into debt or crashed entirely. Special funds have been earmarked to support the business, but many are still not receiving the help they need. Some soldiers have been unable to file requests for assistance while serving in Gaza, and while others have yet to receive answers to their requests, soldiers and government representatives told the committee. My situation is a catastrophe, said Lior Mosheyev, a supermarket owner from Beersheba, who until a few days ago was fighting in Gaza's terror hotspot and who may be returning to Gaza. I'm afraid to use my credit card to buy baby formula for my daughter. I did not receive a grant. I risk my life every day to protect you and everyone. Is there anyone else here in this parliament whose refrigerator is empty and who has not received a salary? He demanded, still in your uniform, to the lawmakers. We didn't think twice. We left everything. As I was saying, the reservists were basically mobilized on day one, which was October the 7th. We left our families, we abandoned our business, and we went to fight. Mosheyev's case represents what is happening to the whole system, committee chairman, member of parliament Moshe Gafni declared, demanding an answer within a day to why this young man who's risking his life is not receiving what he should have received. Now, over 360,000 Israelis were called up for reserve duty on October the 7th. Since then, reservists and their families have campaigned to receive the finances they need and have businesses collapsing. In many cases, they have spouses who were left alone to care for the children, sometimes with schools and kindergartens closed due to the war, and have been unable to work because they were looking after the children for a time, some of them for months. So this is really the situation in Israel that on the ground that we're seeing in front of our eyes. People who have been evacuated, and people who've lost their work, and people who are fighting to sustain themselves at this time financially because they are not being able to run their business. If you go to the shopping malls of Israel, you'll see that there's a distinct lack of customers, and you're actually treated very well in a way, because you're like the main customer if you're there, because there's so few, which is kind of sad in a way, because we need these places. We need to have these facilities in Israel, otherwise the whole system collapses. So this is very important for you to know. Now, Nathalie, what have you got for us today and sharing on the program?
Yeah, when you speak about all these things, I wanted to say to you, we are really in the pangs of the redemption, and which is called also, wait, I was remembering. Oh yes, it's in Jeremiah 30 verse 7. It will be a time of trouble for Jacob. So we're really seeing that we are in this time. You can see, if, interesting enough, yesterday, a lot of people went to the Western Wall to go to pray, and it was full of people praying for the hostages, praying for the soldiers, praying for the people who've been injured, praying that that Hamas will stop and that we'll have peace again, and again the same Hezbollah in the north, praying for shalom, because this is what we want to see, all right? So this is very important, and it's like when we speak about the pang of redemption, there is two, or like also in Jeremiah, is a time of trouble for Jacob. We have two kind of picture for the people to understand how it is. One is a lady who is pregnant. We spoke already about that. And there is another one, which is like a seed who goes in the ground and has to die for the seedling to come out. So it's like there is a death of the way of living for a new way of living, which would be like redemption. When you see when the Jewish people went out of Egypt, it was the death of slavery for being free. So there is like a big change, a big transformation. And we can see that we are in this time now, like Martin said, first in Israel, and then we know that is also happening in all around the world, okay? And one other thing also, when the lady is pregnant, there is different stages, you know, at the beginning, okay, she's just pregnant, then the baby is going to come, so there is start to have contraction, slow contraction, and they're coming harder and harder, and there is a time where she doesn't want to be distracted anymore. She has to focus. The whole body is working very hard. It's like some people say that is like the death, the pain of what she's having is like people having multiple break of bones. So it's something very intense. And I think we are really in this time now that we can see in Israel, and it's like no distraction. And when we say that it is here in Israel, but we are all linked with Israel, because Israel is like the country that God has created first, and then he carry on creating the whole world. So when something is happening in Israel, the whole world is touched by that. It's like we are not independent of everyone. And we saw that in one way with COVID, we could see that we are not independent, we are dependent of each other. So when something happening here, the whole world is feeling the pangs in one way or another, stronger or not stronger. It depends how you focus, okay? And we are all in this war. So this is very important. Now, interesting enough, with all these things, you can see, you know how I love the Hebrew language, and the letters of the Hebrew language is very different than any other languages, because they were used for the creation of the world, of the universe, and they are like building block of creation. And so I discovered something. I spoke about it, but it's like I discovered again even more depth in it, and I want a bit to speak to you about that. So the Hebrew language, I want to show you first of all the letters. You can see them on this thing, and we are going to speak about the 1 here, which is called the Sophit, and you can see they all have also a number. All right. By the way, if you want the book, you go on our website and you can have it. It's in English, French, German, and Dutch now from Holland. So what you see so there is 22 letters, all right, and there is 5 here, which is very interesting because they weren't really they weren't used at the beginning with the Hebrew language. I've just learned that. But it was during the time of the prophets that they came out, that the letters were more, I don't know exactly how it works, but they were more, they were like revealed, because there is thing that God reveals slowly, one things by one thing, okay, step by step. Not everything can be, we can't take it all in. You can see when something is happening, is one thing plus another thing, you can't take it all. So the same for the redemption, God is bringing things slowly, and the letters, these last letters, have a very high number, compared to the other letters, because there is a power of redemption. This is just amazing, you know. It's like, it's something new, but when you start to dig in the letters, you can see the beauty of it. Now, the last letter is called Tzadi, and so because it's the last one, it's called Tzadi Sofit, the last one. And Tzadi, Tzadik means the righteous. So this letter is being used at the end for the redemption, where we are coming at. Is we are really in the time of redemption now. It's like when the lady is having a baby, and the contraction are there and regular and at certain paces, you know that that's it. You have to go to the maternity, or the midwife needs to come to you in your home. It's time to deliver the baby. And we can see now the pangs coming stronger and stronger, and there is no return. When the baby is coming, that's it. There is no return. Now, it's interesting because the Jewish people, I was doing some learning history with them, and they were saying that few times they could see some pangs coming, but it was like not the right one, or they stopped and it wasn't the right time. But now we can see these things happening over and over and all around the world. People can sense that, okay? So this is, when you look at the number, the Tzadi Sofit is the one who has the highest number. Now this is very interesting, and it's like 900. When you put the Tzadi with it, is 90, and when you put the Tet, which is a very specific name, is 999, okay? So it's the top name, the top number, and when you go after is 1000. So the Aleph, the first letter of the alphabet of the Hebrew Aleph
Language.
Yeah, but the Hebrew
Alphabet.
Yeah, we always call it
Alphabet.
That's it. It's the name that we say. Is the first letter is Aleph, which represents God and is one. But Aleph is also 1000. And so we know that is one God with 1000 qualities. So we are right now at the time of the pangs, where we are going to see redemption, and we are going to come into the 1000 number, which is we are going to see with our eyes the quality of our God, and is the creator of the heaven and the earth. And all the Jewish people are pushing, like they have the pangs, because it's like where the redemption is starting, but we're going to see it all around the world, and you can see, we will see the quality of our God. Now, there is a passage in, because you see the gospel, Yeshua is Jewish, and he knew a lot of things about the Jewish wisdom, and we are Christian really have to go back to this background, to our roots, because there is so much to understand. And when you start to understand, suddenly what Yeshua was saying is much bigger than a little sentence that he was saying. It can be taken in a lot of different levels. And so in Luke, he was speaking about, let me find in Luke, is Luke 21, and it's verse 28. Wait, I need my glasses. The joy of getting older. 28, and it says, when these things start to happen, so you see all the power in heaven be shaken, the sign in of the sun and the moon and the stars, you read, this is from 25, but this is like the verse that I want to say in 28. When these things start to happen, stand up and hold your heads high, because you are about to be liberated, which is like redemption, okay? And the interesting enough, when it says stand up, all this last letter that I'm speaking about, the 5 letters, Sofit, they are not banned, like the other letters were banned, but this one is standing up, and is exactly what he's saying, okay? He's using all the letters of the alphabet, and the last one, the Tzadi, Sophie, is the one who was banned. He was the righteous who is banned, and now he's going to stand up and see face to face his creator. And we're going to see a lot of things. There is pain, but you know how it is when the mother has the baby, you forget about all the suffering. Don't ask me how it works. It's how God makes us. It's just amazing. And it's like, oh, my baby and all of that. And suddenly you forget about all the, the suffering. It's just amazing.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great to have you with us. Don't forget you can go to the website. There's a lot of information there. You can get our daily news story from Israel. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can sign up for the weekly newsletter that Nathalie does. You can help us. You can support us. There's a financial donation page. A lot of information on there. You can contact us. So a lot of stuff there. You can see the program. You can catch up with other programs, and you can let other people know what's happening in Israel from the programs and share them with others. So thank you again for joining us. Don't forget the Israel First television program website is www.israelfirst.org, and our email address is info@israelfirst.org. Thank you again, and it's because of your support that we're able to do this program. And remember, we are the program that looks at the land, the people, and the language.